Hello, good evening, and welcome to Varsity Maine Live. I'm Travis Lazarczyk from the Portland Press Herald. If you haven't joined us before, you can see the comments on the right side. Feel free to chime in with any questions or anything, and we'll try to get to them as best we can. I am joined tonight by Steve Craig, my colleague from the Portland Press Herald, and Will Kramlich from the Lewiston Sun-Journal. And our guest tonight is a longtime field hockey coach in the state of Maine. She's been at Winslow High School for 16 years, won state titles in Class B and Class C. I won't ask her if they're going to move up to Class A and try to get the Trinity there. But Mary Beth Bourgoin from Winslow, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My first question for you is, you guys have been on a pause for COVID-19. When I spoke to you last week, you were thinking today would be the first day you'd be able to get back. Did you guys get back out in the field today?
My day was off. It's tomorrow. So
Okay.
my girls that are able to return will return tomorrow.
Good. One thing I noticed was with that extended time off, did you try and do some things that maybe you learned from last year when you were, in Zoom? Basically, to ask a better question, what have you been able to do with your team in that time off?
What we decided to do was once, because we ran into we were supposed to play Nokomis the day we found out, so that got canceled, and the next day the bad weather was coming in, so we canceled that as well. And then we found out another player was positive, so I just said, okay, we're taking Thursday and Friday off, and here's your workout, and have at it. And then on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week, what we did is we helped and ran clinics for our junior high team, which worked out great. The numbers there are fantastic, and Coach Loftus and Littlefield are doing an awesome job. So that was a lot of fun for us.
Now that you've been off, with all this time, I was looking at your schedule and very jam packed. Is that for the girls? Is that a good thing? For you, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
They love to play games, which, that's an upside. And what I've told them is we're just going to have to grind. And this is what mental toughness is about. And you have to be ready for the next game after one day. I think if we play Saturday, the weather looks horrible. We will have, I think my math is correct, 6 games in 9 days. If we don't play Saturday, we have 5 games in 7 days. So, and one is a Sunday. So it's all about mental toughness and just pushing yourselves beyond where you need to go. And you play a game and you have to be up for the next game, no matter what the result is. So that's been the talk lately.
Will mentions that jam-packed schedule you guys are going to have to play now. And Class B North is certainly no cakewalk.
Yeah.
Who are some of the teams that are challenging you guys for the Class B North title? I know you're kind of right in the middle now just because the way heel points work, but, who are some of the teams you're looking at?
We've only played 3 games. When I look at other teams, they've played up to 7. Lawrence looks fantastic. They've got a great core of girls. They've been playing a long time together, and they are fast. So that is definitely on our radar. I think you have Belfast. You can't count them out ever. And Nokomis is always a tough competitor for us. We don't play MCI in the playoffs, but in the regular season, they're always right there in the grind of it. So, and all 3 teams are in our next week and a half, and then add in Cody and add in Messalonski. So, Cody's another, curveball that KVACB has been given, which is great. Holly does a great job down there. So it just adds to the fun of the schedule, really. You always have to be up.
I was glancing at the schedule, and of course, we focus more on the Southern Maine teams at the Press Herald. But any surprise for you that York is once again atop the Class B South rankings?
Not at all, especially now that Barb's back in charge again. I have nothing but the greatest respect for her. I had a chance to coach against her in a state championship, and she is truly a class act. So I am not surprised at all. I am excited as well to see Levitt up there in the southern part of the state. Wanda has forever been an amazing coach. They're always fast, they're always aggressive, and I've known for a while that she's been waiting for this crew to kind of come up through the ranks. So to see them up there as well is exciting for her. So,
in this pause that you guys have had, has that given you any chance to maybe scout some other teams and keep more of an eye on other teams than maybe you would if you had your own team to worry about, in practices and games?
Well, I didn't know that we were going to be quarantined. So the Saturday before we were quarantined, I went to watch Coney and Lawrence, which was a great view for me. So I got to see that, and I've also been able to see Lawrence and MCI. So that has also given me some plans, but we're a team that takes one game at a time. So right now I'm looking at Oceanside, and then we'll move on to Lawrence, and then we'll go on from there.
Not having been on the field with your team for over a week now, what are some of the improvements you're going to want to see as you guys get back into it, Coach?
My hope is that they have, continued, those that have been away have been continuing with their conditioning and their skills. And as we step on the field, we had a great practice the day before we got quarantined. It was just really focused, and we were ready to go against Nokomis. So my hope is that when they step on, they're ready to go against what we have coming up against us with Oceanside and then Lawrence, and then on from there. So that's the hope.
One question that's more general about field hockey. Maine is one of the few states that requires goggles to be worn by the field hockey players. And for us, it's normal because it's what we've seen for years. But recently the National Federation said that they're not going to require it. Maine is saying we are. Yeah. What's your take? Goggles, no goggles? What's the right choice?
Mike Lowe's gonna have an article coming out. I talked with him yesterday about this, and I told him, I said, I think I'm in the minority. I look at the goggles in the state of Maine, anyways, as another protection. Elite field hockey players have their stick under control and have their skills under control, and that's not always the case in Maine field hockey and in Maine high school field hockey. I explained to him that I had a player just this year, during the festival. She got a stick in the face, and the goggles saved her eye.
Wow.
Yeah, but then I had another player that collided with a girl from Mount Ararat, and my player wound up with a concussion, but the Mount Ararat player wound up with a cut from the goggles over her eye. So I know it's a hot debated thing because club sports don't require it, but I have players myself that this is the first time they're picking up a stick. So the skills and the stick control are not there. So I look at the best interest of all kids. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anything else
from you, Will?
Like that, just hope for the best for you guys. For no more pauses.
Thanks. We hope that too.
I'll throw one other thing out there. What's your sense of participation this year for field hockey? Because it is kind of a niche sport. I mean, to be honest, and I know there's some great clubs in the state, and the state's produced some real high-end talent over the years. So, I mean, is it healthy in your opinion right now at the high school level?
I think it's healthy for most teams, and in talking with my co-coaches who are all my co-coaches, but my friends that are coached for other places, I do think COVID has had an effect on some of our programs. I think the numbers have gone down. I've had girls that have played for me for a long time, and they've just decided that they're just not going to come back, which is, heartbreaking because for me, I've watched them grow up since they were in youth program. So I do think COVID has had an effect. And I am fortunate to be married to an athletic director, and he has said that seems to be the feeling, not just in field hockey, but in other sports too. Not everywhere, but it seems to be a thing statewide. So hopefully we can get beyond this and get our numbers back and get kids participating again.
Right.
Whether
Yeah,
it's field hockey or soccer or cross country, it doesn't matter. Get them out and doing something again.
Right. Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of different factors. I mean, one is that a kid work has always taken precedence for some kids, but now they're working for way more money than they would have even just last year.
Yeah.
So that choice becomes more challenging as well.
Right, for sure. And this was the first year, I took a page out of my friend Sharon Gallant's at Gardner's playbook. And, she has done, instead of doing double sessions, she's gone 7 to 11 during that week or the 2 weeks when we have preseason. And I did the same thing this year, and come to find out, it was great for my girls because so many of them have jobs, and they need to have jobs. They have to have money to help pay for things. So I think Sharon for that idea. And I know my girls were grateful, so they could still at least work. So, and I have many now that leave practice and they go to work for 5 o'clock. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, Coach Bourgoin, thanks very much for your time. We hope you guys get out there and get all those games in.
Oh, thanks everybody. Have a great night, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Bye.
Okay, we will now move on to the athletes of the week, and we'll start with a football player this week from Levitt. Hunter Hayes, the senior, completed 11 of 16 passes for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns, and ran for a team-high 89 yards, including a 52-yard touchdown in the Hornets' 41-0 win over Wells. Steve, you were there. What did you see out of Hunter?
Saw a really good athlete, like a lot of players on the Levitt team. But, that picture that we just showed reminded me of one play that Hunter Hayes made in the second half where he was on a really quick rollout right, zipped it to Dayton Calder, a speedy receiver, into the end zone. It was a 26-yard scoring play, but, probably the pass covered at least 35 yards. And he had, it was on a rope and it was on target. Really impressive play. Also a very tough runner, physical kid. Didn't seem satisfied with the fact that they'd gained almost 600 yards as a team. So, and beaten Wells shut them out. So that's not the worst thing either, that you've got your quarterback who wants to improve even after what really was a very good effort.
They were eager to get out there after having 2 unexpected weeks off. So.
But poised. I will say that you could tell that it was not the sideline that I kind of expected, with lots of rah-rah and nervous energy. They were very businesslike, and I think they did that purposely. In talking to Coach Hathaway before the game, and I think that helped them not to get overwrought. Like, we're finally going to get to play, and then just go out and make a bunch of bonehead penalties. They did not. Levitt was very poised throughout the whole night.
Okay. A pair of cross-country runners on the boys' side. Daniel McCarthy of Bangor. He won the Fleetfoot. Did I read that right? Yeah, Fleetfoot Classic in Gorham on Saturday with a time of 15 minutes, 28 seconds, and 37 seconds ahead of his nearest challenger in a field of 309 boys. It was the state's best 5K time this year by 23 seconds. On the girls' side, from Bonnie Eagle, Delaney Hustler, the senior led the Scots to the team title by a wide margin at the same race, beating a field of 205 girls with a time of 16:25:46. For girls soccer, Morgan Ham from Monmouth Winthrop, she scored 3 goals in the Mustangs' 8-0 win over Booth Bay, Wisconsin on Monday. Will, what can you tell us about Morgan?
She, Monmouth has had some really good players as of late that have now graduated. Allison Burnham last year, Audrey Fletcher 2 years before that, and Megan Ham's kind of been one of those players that was, a secondary player, and now this is kind of her year to be the star on Monmouth and Monmouth Winthrop. And 3 goals there the other day, kind of showing that, she can be that player, that go-to scorer that, they're going to need, in some games. And, when they face those better teams are going to definitely kind of mark her up and make her really try to beat them.
Okay. In boys soccer from Greeley, Tommy Benner, he scored 4 goals all in the first half in Greeley's 8-1 win over Lake Region on Friday. And he also scored against Yarmouth in a 2-1 loss last Tuesday. On girls soccer, we have Jordan Wolf, the Falmouth goalie. She set a school record with her 25th career shutout in Tuesday's 3-0 win against Bonnie Eagle. She's been the starting goalie there at Falmouth since her freshman year. And, 25 shutouts in a high school career when you play maybe 16 or 17 games at most a season is quite impressive. Moving on to field hockey, Hope Bouchard from Lawrence Jr. scored 2 goals and an assist in a 5-1 win over MCI. That was a battle of undefeated teams. Lawrence improved to 6-0 with that win. And in another girls soccer, we have a pair from Halldale, Lily Platt and Carly Keith. Each scored a hat trick to lead Halldale to a 9-0 win over Spruce Mountain. In field hockey, Gardner's Piper Lavoie, she scored 2 goals and added an assist in a win over Waterville. In 8-man football, Shea Farrell from Mount Ararat, he scored 5 touchdowns in a 58-32 win over Gray New Gloucester. He rushed for a touchdown, returned 2 kickoffs for scores, and returned a fumble for a touchdown. Oh, and he had a game-high 8 tackles, so I don't think he ever left the field. He's probably still out there on the field waiting for the next play to snap. The North Yarmouth Academy girls soccer player, Angel Huntsman, she scored 3 goals in the Panthers' 6-0 win over previously undefeated Trape, and she has 14 goals already this season. Finally, from Biddeford Field Hockey, we have Cece Keller. She scored 3 goals in back-to-back games and wins over Kennebunk and Wyndham, and she has 17 goals this season. And it's not a player, but we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the Gardner volleyball team. They are undefeated at 6-0, and gentlemen, they have not even lost a set yet. So it's been a strong season for Gardner volleyball so far in 2021. Okay, we will now look at the Varsity Maine Top 10 polls. You can find these on our webpage, varsitymaine.com, and these are voted on by reporters from the Portland Press Herald, Sun Journal, Kennebunk Journal, Morning Sentinel, Times Record, and the Forecaster. Did I miss anything? I don't think so.
All of them.
There's probably something out there.
Yeah. All right. In boys soccer, we have Scarborough still in first with 4 first-place votes, followed by Lewiston with a first-place vote, Yarmouth with a first-place vote, and then Brunswick and Falmouth. Will, tell us about this Lewiston team. Are we sleeping on them a little bit?
I don't know. They have a first-place vote, and they're second in the poll. I mean, you guys don't seem as much being down there, and Class A South is so strong. But just they have a program. They have numbers every year. And it's hard to get on that varsity team. And we're talking to former coach Mike McGraw, and they have really good kids that are just soccer lifers, and they can't break onto the varsity team until they're seniors. And then they have great senior years, and then other kids come up, and it's the same thing. But they do have some guys back from last year, and last year's team was undefeated, doing the same kind of thing, but there wasn't playoffs. So now they're back. They have most of the guys back, and just so many different guys can score, and that's when they've been really good and winning championships. They've had depth in scoring, and this is just another kind of one of those additions of Lewiston boys soccer.
Okay. In girls soccer, Scarborough once again the first place team, but it's close because they have 3 first place votes. Camden Hills is second with 2 first place votes. And Cape Elizabeth, the class of Class B South, has 1. And then followed by Gorham and Bangor. Bangor moving into that top 5 with a big win over Brunswick this week. And I think we have a Brunswick Camden Hills game coming up soon, don't we?
Yes. Yeah. Saturday, I think. Yeah.
So that'll be a big one in Class A North. In field hockey, Skowhegan, no surprise, they are still number 1 with 5 first-place votes. Cheverus moves into second with a first-place vote after upsetting Scarborough the other day, followed by Massabesic, Scarborough, and then Lawrence. And then finally, we'll get to football. Very close among the top teams. Thornton Academy, number 1 with 6 first-place votes. Bonnie Eagle, 2 with 1 first-place vote. Then Oxford Hills, 3rd. Bangor, 4th. We haven't seen Bangor in this poll in forever. Years, it seems like. And then finally, Class B, Marshwood, 5th. Steve, this kind of brings us into the Games of the Week segment. These top 4 teams in our poll are all kind of playing each other this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were the top 4 teams when I wrote my football notebook that's already up online. I guess I should have been paying more attention to our own poll. But yes, Bangor comes down to Thornton. That was supposed to be Friday night. Now it's going to be Saturday night. I think these switches to Saturday are weather related because of expected thunderstorms. And then Bonnie Eagle, after giving up 42 points to Kennebunk and trailing by 9 midway through the third quarter, is at Oxford Hills. All 4 of those teams are 3-0. They're all in Class A, obviously. And really the question is, I think there's a very strong perception that Oxford Hills has been building to kind of get to that top tier over the years, and they were going to be a threat. I was hearing this in the preseason. Bangor's a little bit of a surprise, but they came down last week, beat Scarborough 37-36. It was a wild game, a lot of lead changes, but Bangor was without 21 players who were quarantining, and Coach David Morris said 12 of them would have been starters at some phase of the game, either offense, defense, or special teams. Fortunately, he had his quarterback, Max Clark, a senior veteran. Sounds like he's a great leader, and who has a bunch of weapons, including his younger 6'6" brother, Landon Clark, who had a couple of touchdowns and recovered the bobbling fumble in the end zone on the final play of the game to beat Scarborough. So, and by that game being moved to Saturday, Bangor will, now whether they'll play or not is another question, but those kids that have been in quarantine will be out of quarantine, assuming there aren't other complications, since I spoke with David earlier in the week. So, yeah, I think, okay, long-winded way of saying, now we're going to find out. Are Bangor and Oxford Hills really, have they elevated themselves to the point where we should put them in the same category as perennial powers, Thornton and Bonnie Eagle? That's what it boils down to this week. They don't necessarily have to win, but they, like in 2019, Bangor was outscored something like 210-10 points in 4 games against Bonnie Eagle, Thornton, and Scarborough, playing one of those in the playoffs. Oxford Hills' margin wasn't as bad, but it was still like a 3-1 margin and an 0-4 record against those teams. So, you got to prove it, but they got a great opportunity this week. And I think especially Oxford Hills being at home, it's going to be a weird Saturday, 11 a.m. start. Are you going to that one, Will?
I don't know. We've had to completely change our schedule around with
yes.
With
Me too. I thought I was going somewhere on Friday night, and now I'm going somewhere different on Saturday night. So, and that's all assuming nothing else changes. But yeah, it should be. I mean, it's great. I think it's great that Bangor especially has recovered as well as they have, because I don't have the history in the state of remembering when Bangor was a power. What I remember is that they went 3 years with winning 1 game, and that wasn't that many years ago. It was 2016 through 18. So for Bangor to be a factor again, it makes Class A much more interesting and valid. And now it's on Edward Little, Lewiston, and to a degree Sanford to yes, to pick it up, and Scarborough to get it back together. I mean, I think Scarborough, they had to play Bonnie Eagle and then got surprised by Bangor back to back. So the fact that they're 1-2, I don't think you'd want to read too much into that.
Yeah,
let's see how they bounce back this week.
Right. Will, big soccer game for the boys' side in your area coming up with Edward Little and Lewiston. Tell us about that.
Yeah, for those teams, always a big rivalry, but Edward Little seems to be back this year. They have a new coach in Max Thompson, but he's the father of one of their players, Jack Thompson, and they've got a lot of guys. They've done really good in their games. Their one loss was to a really good Brunswick team. So they'll definitely be ready for that game on Saturday, and that should be a really good crowd. At Lewiston, Lewiston's doing so good, and Edward Little looking like they could be a contender to Lewiston in A North.
And Steve, the Wyndham boys have some big games coming up after a slow start.
Yeah, they're kind of the sleeper. They're actually 3rd in the heel points in Class A South. They're undefeated and unscored on. Oh. And then, of course, I had this all written down at some point, but yes, I think it's Marshwood, which only has 1 loss, Falmouth, which only has a tie, and then an improving Gorham team, which has won 3 straight after a tough start against tough competition. So it'll be a little bit. It'll be another one of those cases. Is Wyndham, are they a team that really could contend? I think we'll find out over that 3-game stretch if they say go 2-1. So they're right there in the mix. Those are 3 really good teams. Falmouth being the 2019 state champions.
And we're going to find that out about the Wyndham girls team too. I saw them the other night with a big 5-0 win at Kennebunk. They were ahead at the half tonight against Marshwood 3-0. So I'll assume that they held on and won that to go to 7-0. And now they've got big games coming up with Falmouth, Gorham, and Cheverus. Those are 3 of the Class A South. So the Eagles are certainly going to get tested soon. A field hockey game I'm interested in seeing this weekend. Skowhegan and Oxford Hills 1-2 in Class A North. Skowhegan's typically a very high, 1 and number 2 through the rest are kind of down below, but it's still 1 versus 2. Oxford Hills has been a team that's kind of been a contender to break Skowhegan's 2-decade hold on that region. So we'll see what the Vikings can do on this weekend. All right, but that's going to do it.
And Skowhegan played since they had kids in quarantine. Do you know?
They played
Travis?
and beat Messalonskee today.
Okay.
So they are back.
They're right back at it.
They're back at work, doing the same thing they always do. So that's going to do it for us this week on Varsity Maine Live. We thank you for joining us. Tune back in next Thursday at 8. And you can get all your high school football coverage at the Press Herald, the centralmaine.com, Sun Journal, Times Record, Forecaster, and varsitymaine.com. For Will, for Steve, for Coach Bourgoin, I'm Travis. Thanks for being here.